Hello Internet, Seth Skorkowski, and today we'll be taking a look at the Call of Cthulhu starter set by Chaosium. This big, beautiful box contains everything a new player would need to get started playing. First things first, I love the cover image. It's very reminiscent of the original box set for first edition. You got this trio of investigators in a cemetery headed toward a creepy house, and some kind of noodly appendage is about to attack them. I love the throwback aspect. Now, one thing about this box is that it's actually a little bit taller than your standard RPG book. Not much, but it does make a difference. I first heard about this on Bud's RPG review when he had covered that, and I hadn't thought about that before, but this box is actually a little bit too high to sit on that shelf behind me if it's going to go upright. You're just so big. Now, opening it up, the first thing we see is this page, asking what's in the box. We don't need to read this because I'm going to tell you. Next, we get an advertisement, which we also don't need to talk about that. Next, we get this set of RPG dice, which is also the culprit for the box being taller than average. Now, a couple things about the dice. First, the back of the box shows a different set of dice, those green ones here, which look like they're a set of the Q Workshop Call of Cthulhu dice. So they aren't those. They're actually off-white with sort of a smoky gray hue. Camera's probably not picking that up right for you to see it, but the big thing to notice is that we get a second tins die, the blue one over there. I'm not aware of any official name for this kind of dice. Chessex calls them the tins tin, and Game Science calls them Deciders, which I much prefer the name Deciders. It sounds like some sort of race that Doctor Who would fight in some episode of that show. You're like, oh no, the Deciders are coming for us. Anyways, this dice is to be used for bonus and penalty dice, and that's why we given two of them. So it's really cool that they included that. Personally, I would have preferred if they had actually given us two of the extra Deciders. That way we could have double bonus or double penalty dice, but really I should just be happy that they gave me one spare, and asking for two is kind of being needy. I said in other videos that I believe that any sort of official Call of Cthulhu dice should come with an extra set of the Deciders. In fact, the Q Workshop officially licensed Call of Cthulhu dice, they don't even come with the extra die. But the next thing that I noticed is that they didn't include a D12. I was completely aghast by this. I couldn't believe that they had forgotten such an important die as the D12. I mean, I've been playing Call of Cthulhu for years, and this D12 and I have a ton of great memories together. And then I started thinking about them, and I realized I have no memories of ever using this D12 in a game. So I checked the PDF for the Call of Cthulhu's Keeper Guide just to see how many times you use a D12, and to my surprise, D12 does not appear anywhere in the Call of Cthulhu's Keeper Guide. In fact, the D12 is not used at all in Call of Cthulhu. This dice that I've been carrying around on my table for the past few years has been completely useless. You're just now learning that? Which is supposed to be like an authority or something. I know, I was completely shocked by this, but I wasn't the only one that seemed to have missed that memo, because the officially licensed Call of Cthulhu dice by Q Workshop, those include a D12 as well, so learn something new every day. Next, we get 5 blank character sheets, and then 5 pre-written characters to either use in the game or to use as examples when you're making your own characters later on. Next, we get Book 1, which is Alone Against the Flames. A solitary adventure you can play by yourself as a way to learn the game, sort of like a choose-your-own-adventure book. All you need is a character sheet, check, dice, check, and a pencil. Though they didn't provide you with a pencil in the box set, so you are going to have to provide your own pencil in order to play. Now, I already own this scenario. In fact, I was just talking about this in my last video when I was talking about how to learn a new game system, so I'm really excited that Call of Cthulhu included this in the starter set. While I haven't done a full, thorough side-by-side comparison between the two versions, the first thing that I noticed is that my original one has a nice thick binding here where you can actually read the spine of it, while the newer one that comes in the starter set is just merely saddle stapled. However, this version, the original one, this thing cost me $13 back in the day, so the fact that Chaosium included it with the starter set is a screaming deal. Next is Book 2, the Introductory Rules. Now this is really cool because if you use the box set in the order that it's presented, the way that they're wanting you to, you actually start off by just going ahead and start playing the adventure Alone Against the Flames. So you actually start off by playing rather than just reading the rules. And then you get to Book 2 and it's all like, now you want to learn how to do this for other people? Well, we're going to show you how. Now, one thing I do want to mention is this little box directing players to online resources on how to play. And if you notice, I am listed as a valuable resource, the wheat from the chaff, as they describe. Honestly, this was a huge surprise for me, and a huge thank you to Chaosium and Mike Mason for the shout out. I am honored. I kinda noticed my name ain't on that list, but hey, good for you. You're officially recognized as a know-it-all. You must be so proud. I am. This was awesome. And then it's a good thing you hadn't let it slip that you didn't even know you weren't supposed to use a D12. Expert. Thanks a lot, Chaosium. His ego is going to get all sorts of big now, and I have been trying for years to keep that thing in check. You are not ruining this for me. Ever since I was a young nerd, more of my larval stage of nerddom, I have always wanted to have my name inside of an RPG book. And while I had originally thought that was going to be for some scenario that I wrote and had published, young Seth is still squealing with joy getting to see his name in an official RPG book. Now, my first published scenario, which will be appearing in the new Tales from the Miskatonic Valley, is on its way, but more on that scenario on another day. The book is 23 pages, providing a working set of quick start rules over skills, dice mechanics, how to use those fancy dice you just got, insanity, and everything else that you need. Next, we get to Book 3, Paper Chase and Other Adventures. Now, real fast, let me tell you a quick little story about something. Last year, about this time last year, maybe a little bit earlier, Pookie from Reviews from Rolea and I were working kind of a small little project. And the idea is we were going to assemble 6 or 7 of the classic Call of Cthulhu adventures that are no longer in print, that he and I considered to kind of be masterpieces that Chaosium should, maybe update, make a few changes to, and release as part of the new 7th edition line. Sort of the wheat from the chaff of the old back catalog. So he and I are kind of going through all these old scenarios. I am reading dozens and dozens and dozens of old scenarios that I've never read before. Pookie, meanwhile, he just kind of knows all this stuff because he has a commanding knowledge of the history of the game and all the different supplements out there. He's kind of like the Cthulhu wiki unto himself. And anyway, we're going through all these scenarios, talking back and forth, the benefits and any issues that we might see in any of them. And we had assembled a list of 7 adventures that we thought were pretty damn good. And we're going to pitch this to Chaosium as these are the ones that we think you should bring back. So when Pookie bumps into Mike Mason at a convention last year, and he's telling him these are the ones that we've got together, he's kind of pitching the idea to Mike. And Mike says to him, well, I assume he says to him, this is kind of from Pookie's kind of rendition of what happens is, Mike's like, oh, well, I got some good news and some bad news on that. The good news is that I agree with your list. These are some great scenarios and they need to be brought back. The bad news is that we've actually already decided to use 3 of those scenarios that you went through and chose, so those are what's going to appear in the new starter set. And those adventures are Paper Chase, Edge of Darkness, and Dead Man's Stomp. So if anyone's asking, are the adventures in the starter set any good, or did Chaosium kind of slap something together and just throw it in there because it's going to be a cheap starter set? The answer is no. These are 3 of the older adventures that Pookie and I have both considered some of the best material that Chaosium had released, and I am excited to see this back in print. The first one is Paper Chase, which originally appeared in 1983's Cthulhu Companion. And what I like about it is that it is a solo adventure, meaning that you only need a game master and a single player in order to play it. Now, it does state in this updated version that you can use 2 players in order to play it, but the module was originally designed and is still fully playable by only a single player. First, I think that single-player game is about as Lovecraftian as you can really get. If you go back and read a lot of Lovecraft stories, they only had a single protagonist. So if you're doing a Lovecraft game, you should have a lot of single-player sort of adventures. In fact, I would really love to see more published solo adventures out there. But the other thing that I really like about this is if you go through these scenarios in order, it means that a new keeper is first going to do this solitary adventure with Alone Against the Flames. And then their first attempt at trying to game master somebody else is going to be this small scenario, which is designed for either 1 or 2 players, sort of ease themselves into it. Now, once again, on my last video where I was just talking about how to learn a new system, one of the steps that I discussed is actually running smaller games for smaller groups. 2-player groups is what I was mentioning as a good way to learn the system, and Chaosium agrees with that because that's how they published it here, as a nice way to kind of ease a game master into being able to run this game for multiple people without biting off more that they can chew and trying to take on a full group all at once. Now, the next 2 scenarios, Edge of Darkness and Dead Man's Stomp, used to appear as the free scenarios that came with 5th and 6th edition, but until now haven't been available in 7th edition. Edge of Darkness is one of my very favorite introductory scenarios that Chaosium has ever released. I love this scenario so much that not only have I done a review video for it, I've done 2 review videos for it. It's because I wanted to update it, make it a little bit better, because the first one I had made in the early days of my channel when I didn't have any good equipment, and it was one of those scenarios that I think really deserved a good, decent review for it. And this new version of the module that they've released now has updated art, updated maps, has several scenes expanded, has handouts that are available for their players. They have done so much for this adventure. They have improved it quite a bit, and I, for one, am excited to see Edge of Darkness back in print.
So does this mean we're going to have to update our review for it?
Tempting, but I think that doing 2 reviews for one single scenario was already enough. Next is Dead Man's Stomp, which has also been given new art, new handouts, new maps, and new content. And some of that content was written by Chris Spivey, who had released Harlem Unbound. This is just fantastic. And when I say that they've updated the art in these, let me go ahead and give you a side-by-side example of what I'm talking about. All the original scenarios only had one picture in them, so I'm going to show the original picture that came with all of the scenarios next to the same picture but in the updated version, how they have improved it. So this is going to have a little bit of a spoilerism to it because I am going to show one image of the interior art. Personally, I don't think that's much of a spoiler. I think of it as more of kind of a trailer or a teaser, but some people, they don't even want to spoil themselves by seeing any art here. So if you don't want to be spoiled by seeing a single picture, go ahead and close your eyes now, and then I'm going to tell you when you can open them back up again. First up is Paper Chase. This is the original illustration for it, and it is terrible. I mean, sure, yeah, it's better than I could have drawn myself in 1983, but I was also 5 at the time, but this picture just does nothing for me. Now here's the new one. Behold, right? And there are a lot more pictures than this, and they are all of this quality. Chaosium put some serious money and some serious effort into updating a 35-year-old scenario and doing it right. Next up is my beloved Edge of Darkness. This is the only illustration in the original version, and it's pretty, I don't even know what's going on here. I wouldn't even know that this is taking place during the ceremony if the module didn't have a little caption next to the picture to tell me that. Now check this out. This is the same scene, but now it is hell yeah. This is a picture worthy of being in the scenario. And also, we get even more pictures of this quality, and we get maps. I love it. Finally, Dead Man's Stomp. Okay, this one isn't terrible. We get a few elements of the story here. We can see this musician and his weird trumpet with 4 valves and some sort of strange writing on it, as well as a dead hand rising from the grave. But now this tells us a story. This gives us a scene and makes me want to know more about the adventure. So huge props to Chaosium for not just reprinting these 3 scenarios, but for giving them the full 7th edition treatment. Finally, the last thing that we get is a booklet of just handouts from the different scenarios that keepers can copy and pass out to their players. Great stuff here, and it's all given that nice high-quality 7th edition version. It's what's known for, and I love it. However, the problem is that the pages are two-sided, so I can't just use them as handouts without spoiling them for the handout that's on the back side of it, or maybe even having to cut the handout on the back side in half because the handout that I wanted to give them was only half a page. So I'd have much preferred if they had given me just more of a stack of single-sided handouts rather than a double-sided Savile-stapled booklet, because keepers are still going to have to copy this and print it up and cut it up and give it to their players. So my problems with this booklet is my only actual criticism about the entire starter set. So overall, I think the starter set is just freaking fantastic. Just on the modules alone, I consider it completely worth the price. Now that price, by the way, if you want the box set, is just $25. However, the PDF that includes all 3 books, the handouts, the pre-generated characters, that can be picked up for just $10, and it is definitely worth it. Also, if you buy the physical box directly from Chaosium like I did, they go ahead and they toss on the PDF for free. So buying it direct from Chaosium is actually going to be the best bang for your buck. So, if you are new to Call of Cthulhu and you've either been watching my series and you're kind of interested in playing, but you don't want to make the financial plunge into buying all the core books, or maybe you haven't been watching my series and just stumbled across this video because you're interested in the starter set, I strongly do recommend that you check it out. And if you already do own the core books and you're looking at this going, I don't need the starter set, I've already got a full set of the books right here, just on the modules alone, I would say the starter set PDF is still worth the price to pick that up, because those modules are worth the price if you don't already have access to them. So overall, with the starter set, I suggest that you check it out.
Jack! What? You didn't tell me to take my hand off my eyes. Oh, I'm up? Hey, Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up. If you want to see some more of our videos, such as game reviews or our entire series on Call of Cthulhu, just hit that subscribe button. Till next time, gamers, you have a great day. Can we retake that? I wasn't ready.